wrong.
Yeah.
Second time is a charm.
100%.
We may or may not have had the genuine privilege of watching our intro video 2 times, because the first time you watched it, I was so enthralled with the video that I forgot to also click the live button. So, but we had Travis on board, Mr. Expert live streamer, who was like, "Are we live?"
I know he's like already doing a much better job than us. He's also in the chat.
Yeah, he's already all better. He's definitely way better than us. So,
well, in this week's news, Kevin has been canceled. Yes, Brittany,
Kevin is not canceled.
We love Kevin.
Kevin, and we miss Kevin, but unfortunately, Kevin isn't with us this week. So
okay, I can fill in by getting suspiciously close to the camera, like he does.
Yes. But you have to take the glasses off, and then
we will lose a lot of contact with the chat and what's going on the moment the glasses come off.
Yeah, I feel that. Look, Salty's already on point here. So before we start, I have a very important question for Travis. Mr. Restream Expert, I can only see read-only. I can only do the read-only LinkedIn comments, which means I have to have a separate tab open to reply to LinkedIn comments, not inside of Restream. Is this a normal thing?
That is normal.
Dang.
I was just not good quality.
That is a LinkedIn API thing. They don't want data from other platforms coming to LinkedIn for whatever reason. I don't know. But
all right. Well, now
that's completely normal.
Now you have to do your own intro.
I have to do my own intro. What kind of show is this?
I don't know, but I see you just stick your helmet on, do some dancing, and it'll be fine.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to super special edition of Snark Squad. We are
the episode where Travis takes over.
Individual. We're gonna have a brilliant day today. My name is Travis Lochner. We will be taking over the Snark Squad stream today, chatting about cancel culture. What is this all about? Let us know if you're hopping in here. An actual intro. I suppose I have fallen into this role as a super producer, basically producing and helping people connect the dots between ideas and reality, whether it's through live streaming or podcasts or music, any type of creation. That is the official title I've kind of been rolling with, and it's been going great the last year or so. So let's stick with that. Thank you for having me.
This is the first time on our show we've had. You're just showing everyone how incompetent we are at our jobs that we don't get paid for, and it's kind of embarrassing.
Thank you for coming. Please, we appreciate how much value you bring and how bad
join
you make
whenever you want. It's actually fantastic to just not have random dead air. And
it'll
hide my mind
back and drink some things while you just do this.
So
Yeah, so like,
well, you guys are, the timing is impeccable
Travis canceled
because
us.
I just got out of Luke Matthews started like a little virtual bar called the
It
Green
has a lot
Dragon.
of rules.
And it
I
was,
joined that. There were so many rules. I was like,
That's-
I'm not reading that.
oh, that's hilarious. But they were all sipping on some drinks. I see a few people bleeding over from the bar. Welcome to the after party of the after party. We are calling the Snark Squad Special Edition.
Yeah. Yes. The one
we
where
need
we
help
have
not
background
creating
music.
value. I know,
Well,
like
we
we
have
have
producer.
there's so much value going on, and we're talking about being canceled. So I can't imagine that this show is not going to have value. So by the end of the show, you will know exactly how to get canceled. All three of us will be canceled. We'll be over. You'll never see us again.
So
That's, I think,
as
what's
much
gonna
as you
happen.
can now.
Yeah. So get your notebooks ready. I expect essays. You can send them to thesndsnarksquad@gmail.com after today's show.
Do we have an email? Do we have
We
one?
do. We do. We needed it for the YouTube channel, so.
Oh my gosh. Also, Michael, you're canceled. It is not GIF. It is GIF. Graphics. So
Yeah.
you're canceled. Get out of my stream.
Here we go.
Automatic cancel. There's no second chances. There's no coming back.
No, I don't get how this is even an argument. These people, it was happening in Luke's show too. There's a bunch of them. They actually think that's an acceptable form of communication in our society today.
Yeah.
GIF. That's
don't
already
understand
preoccupied with a brand name that everybody thinks of. Why? Yeah, just.
And this
irrational.
is not an argument. Giraffe is giraffe, but GIF stands for graphics, not graphics. So I'm just not even engaging in that conversation.
Oh, and Michael was supporting this movement. He's on multiple streams today, pushing the GIF movement.
That is the big lie. That is the big lie. It's the biggest lie.
Oh boy, it's getting spicy right out the gates.
We'll just go for it. I have wine, so it's like ultra spicy today. Oh wait, I always have wine when we're doing this.
Yeah, I was gonna say, when do you not have wine?
Well, there was
during
the
this
first few
event?
weeks I did not have wine because I was during Lent, so I didn't drink. And now
right. That was
it
a
got
poor
infinitely
choice
more
on your
fun
part.
when I was allowed to drink wine. So.
Oh,
Who's
love
LinkedIn
it.
user? Who is our ghost
We
here?
have some ghosts.
Somebody
I
tell me.
Is
Oh,
let's
it's Jackie.
find out. Let's go hunting.
Hey,
Jackie.
Jackie.
What a
Hello,
Jackie.
ghost.
Our favorite ghost.
Hi, Anna Maria. We have some
Friendly
favorite
ghost.
ghosts.
You know, I just have to say, Gabe, I agree that chunky peanut butter is the best.
Ooh, interesting.
I think
Yeah.
you're both wrong.
No,
I've eaten. Oh God, Gabe.
no. Chunky peanut butter is like ace. It is ace.
Wait,
I
you
just
don't
thought
get you don't get a say in that because you also don't like ketchup, and I think peanut butter is technically a condiment. So
It's not a condiment.
It's a condiment.
No,
Ooh.
Do you
damn
spread it on
no.
things?
I mean-
You can spread it on things. It makes it a condiment. That's the rule.
But it doesn't. Okay, so it generally wouldn't squeeze out of a tube. And like, would you
they
call
do have
jam a
squeezy
condiment?
peanut butter.
Okay, well, what
Squeezy
about?
peanut butter?
Would you call jam a condiment?
Yes,
Because
you
these are
spread
not
it
in
on
the same
things.
section in the grocery store.
They
There's
absolutely
condiments
are
and then
same
there's the
section
jam
as
and jelly.
grocery store. Listen. If
You,
can
will not
spread it
find
on
mustard
something-
next to your peanut butter. It just does not happen. Those two
I
do
mean,
not
the
commingle.
mustard lives next to my jelly in the fridge, so I think that's substantial
It counts.
evidence.
But for real, I can't even look at mustard without being nauseous. So if my husband eats it, which he loves it, he has to like open it away from me. And if I smell it, I'll like gag. So like the hatred is real. Ketchup, I don't have such strong feelings. I just don't like it and I just don't eat it. I don't have like I don't
is correct.
I don't actually have a problem with ketchup per se. I just don't like that form of tomato. Mustard,
Like
I
that
have
form
a,
of
I have an
tomato.
issue with.
Okay, if we're going into the condiment theories and the condiment arguments,
condiment theories. Oh boy.
all of your opinions, Jenny, are invalidated by the fact that you pour mayo on French fries.
Well,
you disregard all
Can you pour mayo?
You disregard all of the real condiments. And then for whatever reason, this bizarre exclusion for fries isn't ketchup or ranch or like something normal. Mayo on the fries. Okay. What is your theory and your opinion on mayo on fries is okay, but every other normal condiment combination is not?
I hate mayo under any other circumstance. Like if you put it on a sandwich, I'm not going to eat that sandwich. You throw it like I'm like, oh, so gross. But when I have fries, I want mayo with them. And it's a habit I picked up in Europe because there was like garlic mayo and cheese fries when I lived in Ireland, and they are still the best thing. Like it was like, if you want a really good drunk food, like those are great drunk fries because they're very flavorful and like super intense, and they kind of help soak up some of the alcohol at the end of the night. And so I got like, that's kind of where the mayo was first introduced, and I was okay with that. And then it just kind of graduated to just normal mayo. So like if I go to a chipper, I will buy, like I'll just ask for a side of mayo and just dip and be happy. It's good. Like, and again, if you've had a couple of drinks, it's particularly wonderful. I know, now I need a snack.
Fair enough. Well, there's a little asterisk there. If two or more drinks have been consumed, mayo on fries is acceptable.
I will agree with that, Travis. Travis and I will allow you to have your mayo on fries with the little asterisk of the drinking requirement.
Well, I do it sober now too, but because I don't actually drink in excess now.
The theory's broken.
But you have to
may no longer have it.
But like everyone has a drunk food that they go for. Like in Canada, poutine or like sliced pizza. That's like a drunk food.
That's fair.
And there's like some weird ones. Like my husband, like in Montreal, they had like noodles with peanut butter, which is messed up. But he would eat it.
Isn't that essentially like Thai food?
But like actual peanut butter.
Like, yeah.
It's like a very confused version of like peanut sauce.
I cannot keep up with these comments. Like
Gabe just dropped. Yep, there it is. I was gonna say Gabe just dropped the most Gabe comment I've seen from him in a while.
That is disgusting.
That is on par.
No.
I don't even want that mental imagery.
He cracks open the corner of the package, just.
Yeah, this show is only about what's approved condiments for fries now. Like, sorry for anyone who wanted to discuss us being canceled because it's just
we took a little bit of a left turn out the gates there.
I mean, it was a very important conversation.
Critical details to be discussed.
I cannot believe we took a left turn right off the bat. That doesn't sound like us at all.
But I mean, it's a pressing issue of this time. And like, of all the things going on in the world, I can't think of what needs to be discussed more.
Hang on, we just saw, did we just see that comment from Mindy?
But I can't, it's
spaghetti
too fast.
with chili and chocolate chips? That sounds like a troll comment.
Weird.
There's absolutely no way that's real.
Yeah, Mindy, we're calling you out on that one. That can't be correct. We're saying that you're lying. So we love you, but you're lying. Okay.
Yeah.
No. That's not a real thing, Mindy.
Skyline chili is for real, but I didn't know they. Well, I mean, of all the places that would happen, Ohio sounds pretty on brand for chocolate chip spaghetti dogs at Skyline Chili or something. Oh God. Who knows?
How does one think to combine those things? Like, I wonder who in their drunken state is like, you know what would be really good? I got some spaghetti. I got some Hershey syrup. And I got a bun.
Maybe it was a drunken state, or maybe it was just a look, we are out of food and I am out of money, or I am not going to the grocery store. Here are the items that we have. Make what you're going to make.
You know, those are 3 extraordinarily valid scenarios to invent such a thing.
Seriously. Oh, look, there we go. Bran, Ohio is canceled.
But the mansions. They're so inexpensive there. Don't cancel Ohio yet.
Oh, people are losing.
My grandmother
already.
lives in Ohio. What happens to her if it gets canceled?
I'm sorry, your grandmother is canceled.
I mean, we can tell her, but she won't understand it.
No,
She'll be like, what?
Which is weird because it makes so much sense otherwise.
Obviously.
Fudge on it. I mean, fudge on ice cream is delicious. I have no judgment on that one.
That's normal. Very normal.
I have
Who
zero
doesn't do
judgment
that?
on ice cream.
If you haven't done it, I suggest you try it.
Travis's setup. Okay, Era, you missed the beginning where not only did he do his own introduction, he then invited people into the comments. He was already in the comments, and then he put in the music. And he's just showing, he's giving constructive value to Jenny and I's live streaming skills. Mm-hmm. He's showing by modeling. He's modeling the correct behavior for us.
Like, this is what it's supposed to be.
You know what it is? I had a stream. I've had multiple streams that I had no idea what I was getting into this week. A surprise stream earlier, but then one yesterday with Annie Lieb. And I was apparently we just jumped into the studio like before the show like this. And they were like, so can you be the guest host for today's show? And I was like, what does that mean? What is that doing?
It means you're in charge.
We just went live and
it's how people get your services. So if anyone wants Travis's services for free, invite him to be a guest and then just let him take over.
Invite him to guest host and then just say, ready, set,
and just be
go.
like, it's all you. Like,
you're doing a great job. And send him hearts and like compliments and things. It's like, you're doing so good, Travis.
Fire up the chat. Fire up the chat.
Everyone give Travis some love so he'll maybe come back and do this again.
Yeah. And yes, we should definitely do that. Mm-hmm. So what are we canceling today? Because we obviously aren't canceling Travis because he's highly needed.
Well, my goal is to cancel culture. Getting meta on this one. Because I have, perhaps a narrow or minority opinion on this. But in recent years, it appears this cancel culture trend has taken off in a peculiar way, and in my
is a good word for it.
Almost there is validity, which is the sneaky and tricky part about this entire conversation, is putting everything into a single category. So before we even get into the deep details, there absolutely is like a high level context for people in positions of power, like government levels, high level movie producers, like Weinstein level crap, where it's an obvious abuse of power or abusing the privilege that they've been given. In this context, it is absolutely valid for that stuff to be publicized, to be known, so that people have the choice to not support that individual. Excluding that context, the primary thing that I would love to kind of chat about and see your guys' opinion in the chat is this sort of secondary wave that has came since all of that, whom I like to call the wokies.
It is that you did on the video. I think we need all that right now.
It's a real, so it was just a general warning for this empire of individuals that seem to be having this movement. It seems like kind of the counterpoint to the whole like 4chan and 8chan trolls. There's this movement of like Twitter wokies that just brigade around the internet, trying to find trigger points or something that is not woke or anti-woke, and they just dogpile onto this comedian or this whoever the assumed target is. And the problem I see is that what originally started with something with valid intents, valid intentions, and a good finish line is being hijacked and manipulated for censorship of people where basically they just don't like what they say, they don't like what they do, and it's now, for whatever reason, acceptable to go through their entire digital archive of everything they've ever said and go find a snippet of that, frame it in an expose in the New York Times, and boom, now somebody's entire life and their privacy, possibly their career is ruined based on this moment. This is the critical piece that I would love to kind of tap into and hear from everybody, because it freaking pisses me off.
There's an example this week. In the past week, there's the Chrissy Teigen takedown. So 10 years ago, she said some pretty awful things to a 16-year-old bride. If you're of age 10 years ago, you guys know that. And 51-year-old actor married a teenage girl with her parents' consent. It was an extremely messed up situation. There was nothing okay about it. And the girl just became the target by society. And everyone blamed her and shamed her. And Chrissy Teigen told her to kill herself and all of these things. Now, Chrissy Teigen is losing contracts. She's just being dragged online. Who hasn't told someone to kill themselves on the internet, especially in 2010?
No, it's the biggest problem with it is the selective elements.
Yeah.
Well, you go back 10 years and she immediately apologizes, and then she still has everything, and it's so you were a person 10 years ago, and society was in a different place 10 years ago, but we're going to judge you by today's standards, no matter who you are today. You're not allowed to evolve anymore. I mean, humans evolve, but you aren't allowed when you're the target.
I mean, what's the difference really between a wokey and a troll? I mean, wouldn't they what's the difference? Why are we giving more validity to the wokies than we are trolls?
This is a brilliant argument, or a brilliant piece to tap into. So I think from what I'm seeing from the outside, there's kind of this is where the language that we use and the stigma we attach to words and language becomes more critical, because when you think of a troll, in the typical context, they're intentionally they're stirring shit up, but they also realize the context they're in. The difference I see is with the wokies, I love this term is catching on, is there's this disguised veil of I'm the hero of this situation, calling you out and taking this person down. This very obvious virtue signaling of what I say is right, and I'm doing this because I need to stand up for women, or I need to stand up for X, Y, or Z, whatever what the trigger of the day was. And there is context. There's a small percentage where that's needed, but in most cases that I see, most of the time that is mistargeted at somebody that more likely could be an ally of their movement, of their actual goals. But in most cases, they just make a fool of themselves and end up pushing away people that genuinely could have or would have supported their movement, their mission in its true context. But that's the significant difference I see is this kind of, there's this heroic tone when they come brigading in to ruin somebody's life.
And can we without, okay, so one thing I absolutely am against is naming and shaming, so I don't want to bring up any individuals, but can we talk about what happened with you, Travis, a few weeks ago?
Yeah, it was an interesting social phenomenon in my world.
Social phenomenon.
For sort of the high level context of this whole adventure, I got pulled into an attempted cancel culture thing with multiple parties involved. So the macro level context was last year when I finally started figuring out this streaming stuff and putting together shows. We decided to put together an improv talk show, so completely unscripted. The whole point was to kind of have comedic chemistry, sort of whose line is it anyway type of vibe, but more of a talk show format. So in that context, we had a brilliant crew of people, Dr. Brian Harmon, Ravi Rajani, John Palmar, and Alex Sheridan. In my context, a fairly eclectic and diverse group of people by psychographic measures, and even a little bit by demographic. Ravi's an Indian in the UK. So by my measure, we had a fairly diverse crew that was intentionally selected for their comedic chemistry. And every once in a while, I post clips from that show. I have all the content for it, might as well post clips from it. And one of the clips was posted, just a single moment from that show with 4 guys on screen. Oh my Lord. Apparently that was the trigger of the day, as we've been mentioning. And somebody was triggered seeing 4 guys on screen and started the Where Are the Female Voices Brigade. And in most cases, 90% of cases, I just ignore and deflect stuff like that. I'm mindful of it. I listen to it. If it's a recurring pattern, maybe there's something to look into. So in most cases, I ignore it. But in this case, an individual decided to just keep prodding and keep poking. And I had a ton of unsolicited support. I wasn't brigading or dropping anything of like, yo, go check out this lady, look what she's saying. Just by natural defense, the people that I've supported over the last year or so just started coming up out of the woodworks to defend the show, defend everything in my world. If anybody has any idea of what I've been doing the last year, there are plenty, dozens, probably approaching hundreds of women I've supported. So it was just, by my basis, objectively invalid and not even worth going there. And a few people said that, one of which was John Palmar, and a selective screenshot. We had dialogue the entire day, a couple hours, but somebody decided to go and take a single selective screenshot from JP that said, just stop it. Like, there's nothing here, just stop it. And it somehow got reframed into this context of when this individual decided to step up for women's voices, we all brigaded her and suppressed her voice. That started a whole nother adventure on her post that she started, and thankfully,
which and just
it
a
was
side
amazing.
Note, she did name and shame, because she didn't. Like, it's one thing if you take the screenshot and you obscure it or whatever, and you have your opinion. Yeah. But she did not do that.
No, and this is the danger of anything with modern media. You can produce any perspective, any angle you want. That's why you can go watch the news on 2 different channels and feel like you're living in a different world. You're like, this is the same world. Like, unfortunately, it's been baked into our culture. I started seeing it when I first went to college. I wanted to be a journalist or get involved in journalism. And as you get deeper and deeper under the hood, it's just massive people with more money and power than you can even think of, using these platforms to push a narrative for this or for this or for this. And with what you can do with selective editing, it's just irrational to take almost anything at face value. It kind of sucks valuing media and stuff like that, because that's the whole point, is sharing your creative energy, your voice, etc. But at the same time, we can't abandon basic critical thinking. And that's sort of the stage, the very dangerous stage we're at, is where people can frame anything they want in a perspective. And the even worse part is people don't even look into it. Not only do they not even read the entire New York Times expose article, they just read the headline. The headline only, and then go to Twitter and go regurgitate this same argument that supposedly somebody is feeding. And it just seems like such a slippery slope, seeing like, where do we draw that line? Where the hell is the critical thinking, individualist thinking? It's just honestly, genuinely concerning on like a higher philosophical society, like where are we heading type of level.
Yeah.
Because
so I want to.
It's not a good trajectory.
I do want to play devil's advocate, and it has come up a little bit in the chat, or at least someone mentioned it that I saw it pop up. So in fairness to this person, and I see people putting her name in, and I prefer people not. That's my personal feeling. I just don't give air to the drama because, you know, obviously this is a person who's somewhat distressed. So on one hand, I get it, because if you're a woman trying to raise your profile and you see like LinkedIn is full to the brim of bros, like such a bro club, like it is there. And if you are a woman or someone who identifies as a woman or someone who just doesn't identify as a man, it's frustrating. What bothers me is exactly what you said, though. It takes a snippet. And obviously this person was just reacting at this point. And we have to be able to take the context of, you know, would the reaction be the same and would it be valid if it was for women? And also when you see that, like, get context for the person before you go on the attack. Like, who is this person? What is their history? Like, who are they interacting with? Who are they promoting? Who are they supporting? And I jumped in on that post and I was mad, and I don't lash out at people often online, but like, I don't like when people mess with people I like and my friends, because like Travis behind the scenes has been super helpful and super encouraging to me and to the Snark squad. And I'm so grateful. And I do see Travis as someone who is an ally for everyone. And I think like where I started to get really frustrated, and like, if you guys have known me for a while, you know that I used to like identify as like a pretty hardcore feminist, and I stopped using the term. And it's not because I'm not a feminist, it's because like I actually don't care about gender. I don't care who you are. I care about energies. I care about acknowledging the person, and I care about supporting the conversation that's going to take place, whether that's funny, whether it's providing value, and finding the right people to get in the room. Because on the flip side, if Travis, you were like, okay, like everything has to be gender balanced, race balanced, religion balanced, value balanced. Like, you're not necessarily.
You have 200 people in there.
It's overwhelming. It's not possible. And like, even then, like, it's still not necessarily like, what if you get someone who, like, what if you get a panel of 5 people and you have a woman, you have a man, you have someone who's Muslim, you have someone who's Jewish, and you have someone who's Black. And you're like, okay, like I have like good diversity. But what if all of them graduated with an MBA from Harvard and they all had an upper class upbringing? Their perspectives are the same.
No, their
experiences might vary, but like, that's not like what we see isn't the diversity, it's the experiences behind it. And yes, some of those markers can influence our perspectives, and you know, in fairness, in many cases do, but they don't always. And
I think what you're saying, Jen, like, it doesn't, just because one of you is a woman and one of you is a man does not mean that you're bringing unique perspectives to the conversation. It doesn't mean you're going to balance it out. And in the comments, I was seeing some like, what if you came on and just said, hey, Travis, I see you didn't have any women on your panel. I want to volunteer so you can diversify your voice, right? And then the statement of, then you can fix the problem. Well, I'd like to kind of go back at that and say, you're saying that just because there were 5 men, there was a problem to be fixed. And I don't know that I necessarily agree with that. I know that I could get canceled for these types of statements, and I am a feminist and it's fine. But I mean, I think if you're coming at them and saying, let me fix your problem because you didn't have any women, then that's a different statement than, hey, next time you have a show, if you're looking for a woman to be involved, you know, I'm in. Or if you're looking for someone, I just feel like coming at them and saying, let me fix your problem because I see this problem and I can fix it for you, or I'm outlining your perceived problems. I don't know that that's really not the answer either. I mean,
no, you guys both have mentioned like 2 really critical pieces of this. The first one you were mentioning, Jenny, of feminism, its original form, the movement of feminism. Honestly, almost everything that has happened prior to 2010, like in that era. Great, brilliant, amazing progress.
What's actually
unfortunate
disagree.
is it's been hijacked is the problem.
I disagree.
Let's tap into it then.
No. So I actually think feminism is extraordinarily problematic, and that is why I stopped deeming myself a feminist, because feminism is packaged pink and white. It's girl boss, boss babe. Yeah, I got choices with my Louis Vuitton and my Frappuccino. Feminism is singular. It serves white women. It is not intersectional. Humanism? But like then I don't know, do we get in trouble for caring about all humans? Like we're not supposed to care. Like, so I think intrinsically we care about all humans. We need to focus on people who are marginalized, but like most feminism is racialized. And any other group, if it was non-cis female, if it was Black women, if it was any diversity, it was like, no, us first, because we'll get there and then we're going to help you out. And especially when you look historically of the interaction with white women and race, it's like not a friendly thing. Yeah. And I think like for me, the more that I got into what feminism actually has been, not from the white feminist perspective, but from the intersectional feminist perspective, it's incredibly problematic. And So we actually are closer. We are actually closer to being on the same page then, because that was really what I was getting to with the hijacked version of people using what has truly good intentions. But there happens to be, bringing back in the wokies empire that's growing. Most of the time when I see the people that are triggered and now starting this we need to cancel hoorah, it's usually an older white woman or someone who has benefited from the exact system that they are trying to take down. And there's this just such ironic hypocrisy of the system is oppressing people by race or gender, so we're gonna fix it by oppressing other people by race and gender. And you're like, what the hell is going on here? And what Chelsea was mentioning, this what I've kind of called this checklist diversity isn't what it's about. What is truly true open inclusion. And I realize there's systemic elements that do exclude people of X, Y, and Z factors, but the solution is not a checklist of we need one Black transgender, we need an Asian Jew, and hey, did anybody know any gay Mexicans? We're low on gay Mexicans. Like that's how it sounds to me. Like, how are you gonna pursue diversity if that's what you're doing, is just going down a checklist and making it? To me, it's about leaving the door open and creating a platform or a medium or a show, whatever it is, and leaving that door open for people of any interest, of any color, of any race, of any sexuality that are allowed at the table. I think I was on a show or just watching a show with Reggie Waterman, Jamal Marshall, and Quentin alums. Like, amazing crew, coolest, like, deep thinking, insightful Black dudes that I know. And Quentin had put the from his words, he said it so much more poetically, but he basically set the frame of being this checklist diversity is being allowed to be at the dance. And what inclusion is doing is really being the perspective of somebody literally asking you to dance and wanting you to be there, not you're allowed to be there or you're there because they were low on X, Y, or Z. So it's just a critical distinction that yes, diversity is critical, but when you make it a checklist type of thing, it's where does that's just a
because you're organically excluding. And I think if you have a checklist of who you're including, you're going to be excluding others to meet the inclusion, and then it creates a thing. But like, just briefly back to the feminism comment, Jenny, like you and I were talking, I think feminism at its core was created in a positive way, as was all other movements, right, that were created for different variations
of
humanity, right? But then it's the whole everything in moderation piece, because I think there are really amazing women who identify as a feminist, who I respect and adore, but they use it in this way that's moderated, and they understand kind of the core value of it, and they don't take it to this like ridiculous extreme where they're then using this platform to push other people down, because feminism should not be we hate men. Like that's like not what it is.
True feminism includes all genders. Like you cannot say, oh, it's only women. It is all genders across, like, and I know that this is like a wide range of, it's a hot topic, but like I don't believe in gender. Like I believe in, obviously, like biologically there is a sex that is assigned to you, which is actually more complex than most people think, because there's more than 2 genders. But I do think in general how we identify, whether it's calling ourselves a girl, boy, they, them, feminist, whatever, like we're all people. And we should all just care about other people, and like the world would be so much better if we were just kind to each other. Anna Maria had a great point about extremism being the problem, and I totally agree with that, because like as like far activist as you get on any issue, like every action has an equal and greater reaction. So like where we see a lot of, you know, like social justice warriors and things like that, and people like really going into like the cancel, like I can't believe that you said this 15 years ago, how dare you say this word on Twitter when no one was looking at you and it was fine. Then you have, you know, like, and this is another thing that I think comes into play too, and I think that this is like, it is a feminist concept, but it is relevant and I think hard for me to verbalize, but like the loss of privilege feels like inequality. And I think that as we go through this kind of like recalibration, people feel unequal because they're not used to being the same. And I also think that we've overestimated how many people are, like, we call it privilege, but it's not privilege, because only a few people are benefiting from this current social structure. A lot of people are just as disadvantaged, and they're being even more left behind than some of the groups of people that are out there yelling about all of the inequality.
No, and I think this is critical. Oh, is it happening?
Yes!
We were just talking about you.
Perfect.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jamal Marshall has entered the building.
Where have you been all of our lives, Travis? What is this?
Yes. You guys don't even know how pumped I am. Love it.
What's up, Jamal?
It's too bad though, because Jamal has no thoughts on this topic at all whatsoever.
Yeah, I'm certain you have zero thoughts on
the value is going to just plummet. It's plummeting from here on out.
Yes.
I just can't. Well,
we were trying to have such a substantive and it's over now.
I happened to log on and I jumped on Chelsea's profile and I'm seeing like Travis and you, all three of y'all dropping all these bombs, and I'm like, is this Snark Squad? And I'm like, what? And then I looked at like Michael's comment and I saw like Thomas's comment, and I'm like, oh, it's time to snatch some wigs for real. Because this topic is like, exactly. I can
Yep.
I mean, for real, like, oh, Jackie's here. What up? The family is all here. So Ariel's here. Like, okay. Michael said, where the black people at? The black people are, I'm over here with Pookie and
Got him.
We got a checklist.
So I want to go back to what Chelsea said about feminism. Because I actually did a podcast with Tiffany Castagno on this very thing. I was looking at all of these things 4 months ago about, I think it was like before Women's History Month, and about just the feminist movement and women's equality. And I was like, okay, what women actually benefit from this? And I don't think the feminist movement is, I mean, you got to think about in the inception, all the women of color at the feminist march were actually to stand in the back. And so to me, like for I think everything in the deception has a good desire, but it usually is for one people group. And that could be any people group of any color, you know? So the whole woke culture, it cuts both ways. And like I was talking to Jen, a lot of people who claim to be woke are straight up fast asleep. I don't live in the suburbs. I don't live in the Shire, y'all. I know some folks that are really woke that really know what's going on in some ways that may not be popular. So I got to be careful about what I say. But this whole woke culture, man, I mean, it's like where no one can say anything and you have to be super careful about everything. Man, forget that, man. I'm serious. I'm so done. It's like you can't even hold a conversation anymore. So, yeah.
No, I think like, in my opinion, like, or at least my experience, like, and I think like there's being aware and educating yourself is important, but then you're like, oh, I'm so woke. But like, you assume that you arrived at all the right answers and that there is a right answer. Because sometimes we're just all wrong.
I think that's a perfect key, right? Is you're assuming that you have the answer, the correct answer, and everybody else is wrong. And I also want to ask, if you call yourself woke, is it like calling yourself an influencer? Because I feel like if you have to call yourself that, then maybe you're not. But that's just maybe my thought.
Not going so well.
Yeah.
We're about to see like a ton of LinkedIn profiles change, because I see some people with that at the beginning of their profile say it's influencer, and I'm like, okay, I guess. I'm still scrolling right past your content. I don't care. 90% of influencers on LinkedIn, I just be scrolling past their stuff. Everybody interacts. I'm like, you got everybody trained like a seal, but not this one. I guess I woke up from that, but whatever.
You're so woke, Jamal.
I'm so woke.
Wow.
You can put that on your headline now because we called you woke.
That's right.
Official. You can say like Snark Squad woke.
No, but oh no, go ahead, Travis.
I'm trying to think of how to phrase this, because you were tapping into honestly what I consider is the real issue here. We've seen a lot of this is thinking about humanity at its core level. Whether you like it or not, pick up a history book. It's often about power and control. And one of the easiest ways to obtain power, obtain control over others is by controlling the message, or even more so, controlling what that message is even allowed to be. And that's the piece that really concerns me with the whole cancel culture movement. I, above all else, value like creative energy and individual liberty. That's what really just keeps me moving forward. I can confidently just believe in those things forever, and I feel like I'm in a good spot. So the key piece here is, why is this happening? Why is this narrative being pushed? And to me, I see it as, this is one of the oldest plays in the book, even in like The Art of War, to divide and conquer. If there is somebody that wanted to control our population, control our thinking, the easiest way to do that would be to divide us. And they've created so many of these narratives of black versus white, men versus women. Now we've added sexuality in the mix. The more dichotomies that we create of this side versus that side, the less we're looking at the only freaking one that matters, the controlled versus the controllers. And that's what people need to start looking at and thinking on a higher level. And I think everything that happens in the media, all this cancel culture crap, is just another way to put division between us. So we're not looking at what's going on behind all the smoke and mirrors. We're looking at just stuff that's emotionally designed to just trigger you in every sense of the word, from a primal instinct like level. So there's my tinfoil hat. DL is with me. But that's where I'm at on this one.
I want to add on to that too, because like so many look at like the advancements in terms of communication and like the distribution of information and stuff like that. It's changed so much, and it's being influenced by what you interact with, and we're like being inserted into these bubbles where people can't exist in, like, so I think like on one hand, like the use of technology creates sensory overload for people. Like our brains cannot handle the screen time that we take in every day. But then we have just like social media creates this echo chamber. So not only are we in this like highly activated state all the time, we're easily triggerable because we see only the same opinions and we tolerate anyone. Like the most, and it's funny, if you look at either kind of extreme, like the most intolerant people who are people who are mad about intolerance, whether you are being marginalized because you're a white dude or you feel like you're being marginalized because of your race, religion, gender, whatever it is. And yes, there is like real social structures that come into play, but like when you're in that activated state, everything feels like an attack. So we attack and we can't disagree. We can't learn. We can't listen. That's why I love Jamal's podcast. So I'll just plug that.
Yeah, everybody check out Jamal's podcast. Yes. And I think, like, to add on to that, Jen, like, I think Anna Maria said it earlier. Anna Marie, she talked about coming into it with the right versus wrong, you know, very bipartisan in that sense. You're already missing something, because you should be coming into it with this. You're not coming into it with an open concept of let's find the answer together. You're coming in and saying, I understand what's right. You understand what's wrong. Let me fix it. Or you do what's wrong. I think that's a huge piece of it. And then the other piece would be that, you know, I think a lot of it is coming in and saying, here's all the inequities that I see, and I'm going to fix them because they are my perceived inequities, rather than like really seeking what are the inequities and how do we agree that they are, what can we do? I mean, bringing back all of that, just cutting off the division from the very beginning. It's not me versus you, it's us. And then going forward from there would be like two mindsets that should be foundational to any, you know, woke movement. Just there you go, all you wokies out there, that's for you.
Much else to that point, like what you just said, I think I'm going back to what Travis said, because like when Travis and Jen were speaking, I was just like, yo, because my church is like really far from where I live at. I'm like, I could save so much gas, especially right now the gas is on the low anyway. I just had church, y'all. I mean, like, and then going back to what you said, Chelsea, it's like, to me at this point, I hate to sound pessimistic, but it's almost like the damage is so far gone. And if you think of it from a mental health standpoint, it's a lot to recover from, because once the media has gotten into your mind and you keep going back and deferring to that, you're already programmed to think a certain way. And so to reprogram, to step back from all that, even to step back from this right here and to just get quiet and say, okay, what is the problem at hand that needs to be solved? And how can I seek to understand rather than making myself understood? That's a hard thing to play. And the older we get, the more set in our way that we get. And so to come out of that way that is set, in a sense, the way that your body is set, the way your body stores fat, the way you work out, and to say, I got to reset everything, that takes intention and that takes focus. And I think for us to just kind of calm it on down and just get focused and get in a room with one another instead of saying, this is my flag that I'm planting, that I'm right about. Let me listen to you and hear your frame of reference, hear your backstory, hear why you think the way you think, because it's all birthed out of somewhere. This may sound a little crazy, but I think even in Hitler's own mind, he thought that he was doing a good thing. Sounds crazy.
Yeah.
And even in people who came to this country, you know, who killed off Indians, who enslaved Black folk, they probably thought they were doing a good thing. And actually, I'm a Christian. They used the Bible to do it. Let's get into it. You know, let's snatch every wig. There's a reason why there's wig snatch under my name. Let's snatch the wigs. People don't want to get into it. Let's go there. They thought they were doing a good thing because they had their brand of Christianity that they were bringing to bear on people, but they ended up doing way more harm than good. To me, genocide is never how you accomplish unity.
Yep.
All right, let's wake up, folks.
Okay, mic drop. Second mic drop of the episode.
Damn.
That was it there. But like, I think it's just like statistics though.
Chat.
Like, some people will be like, oh, like, but if you have numbers don't lie. Numbers lie. You can construct a narrative quantitatively or qualitatively.
100%. 100% with
numbers
how much
lie every time.
Data and context and shifting statistics. Yeah, you can create any narrative you want. I could go scour Jenny's dozens or hundreds of videos, and I could probably make a pretty rough edit for my New York Times expose.
Oh my God. Just
to.
Go to my live with Kevin a few weeks ago. Like, my husband heard it. He's like, you're going to get canceled.
Oh my gosh. But Jamal mentioned, I told y'all he was way more poetic than the rest of us. The one phrase really that gives this clarity was seek to understand rather than trying to be understood. And that flip, that shift in perspective, that's what I think it's all about for anybody that's trying to get a takeaway of like, great, well, that's cool. What do we do about it? That phrase right there is what it's all about.
I hope everyone was taking notes. I expect.
Right? Who has their notebook out? Because that's huge. And I think playing into all of that is if you, like you had talked about, Jenny, like we live inside an echo chamber that we build for ourselves. So if you're going into this looking for a specific feedback, you're going to get that specific feedback until you go into it with that open mind of what is the feedback rather than what is the feedback that I want to echo what I've already said. You're not doing anything. All you're doing, like Jamal, you said, you're just making those neural pathways deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. You're not really going and saying, can I change this? Is this a habit loop? Is this healthy? And asking questions. And I think the biggest problem, and because I'm in education, I'm just going to take this all the way back, is we don't have people without, where is the self-awareness? Like, where is that self-awareness? One, and where is the ability to think critically? Two, and why aren't these things being brought into education? Three. These are my questions.
Third mic drop of the episode.
All right. Y'all cannot counsel Chelsea because she just snatched wigs of all the people in education. I mean, she did. For all y'all in education, for those who are writing the material in the curriculum, she snatched y'all's wigs. Your lace front is gone.
No, 100%. Well, and even like if you want like proof of that is go back 20 minutes and me and Travis just disagreed on something, but we were open and we listened to each other and we agreed on the problem.
We were actually on the same page trying to
say
the same thing. Yeah.
Before like attacking each other, you sought to understand. I feel
like let's fight about how we agree.
You sought to understand prior to just canceling Travis. You could have screenshotted that, posted on LinkedIn, and got everybody to just panic.
It would have been over.
No, I'm actually going to just be like really transparent. I don't know how many people know her because she's still growing in her space on LinkedIn. Her name's Nancy Burrows, but we met on the Zoom a long time ago. And me being a young Black American Christian male, she is a white non-Zionist Jewish woman. And we had an adult conversation going this direction, but met at the same point. And it was a beautiful conversation. And I wish she said we should hit the record button and done a post and says, this is how you have an adult conversation when you may not agree on everything, but can agree to be friends and love one another well. And I adore Nancy. You know, we may not see everything theologically eye to eye, but it's like we can sit in the same room and take up space, and I have her back and she has mine.
Yeah.
You know, so that's just full transparency to whoever's watching this. It's like, this is what goes against and mitigates that council culture that's so powerful. Oh, you disagree with me, I can't.
Yeah, and then you panic. And where does that come from? Like, shouldn't you be strong enough in your own core values and beliefs that someone else having different core values and beliefs does not cause you to freak out and have to fix their values and beliefs? Like, doesn't that say something about that person who's panicking rather than the other person? Because if you believe differently than me, that doesn't change what I believe or who I am or what I do. Like, and I don't need you to believe the same things for it to validate me. I think it speaks, like, why do you need that validation for that other person to believe the exact same things you do? That just doesn't make sense.
This is who needs to be heading up the school board. I rest my case, y'all.
Yeah.
Just like, can Chelsea be president now? Like,
y'all heard that LinkedIn? Y'all little hiring managers?
Come on, people. Anyone who is not hiring Chelsea is dropping the effing ball right now.
Just saying.
Leave that there.
Love
The
it.
education system is screwing itself over. Like, I'm done.
I'm just gonna take this whole thing, cut it into pieces, and put it on my website. And when I say I'm going to do that, I mean I'm going to ask Travis to help me figure out how to do all the things that I just
said. Well, he's our producer for the episode, so I thought that he would.
That's built into this production episode, right, Travis? Is then you helping us to like
producer.
Find it's built in. It's part of the package that we paid for.
I thought we agreed to this. Like, did you not get the message?
I'm so. It was in the contract somewhere.
Yeah, I think like Kevin had arranged it. I know he's not here, but like, trust me when I say that he patient along.
Yes, that was definitely what it is.
No, it's like, but it's interesting because like sweet. I think like one thing that Jamal hit on is that like fundamentally like we can have different perspectives and like so much difference between us, and I feel like we're focusing so much on what's different between us and like putting our focus, like putting the emphasis there versus like how we're all the same. Like fundamentally, humans are all the same. We are trying to survive. We are trying to be happy. We are trying to fulfill our basic needs. And many of us share a lot of the same values, maybe not always identical. Maybe they don't like how to articulate them are not always the same, but we all like, and I think like from an, like, I don't even want to say national identity. Like so many of us, like most of us care about honesty. Most of us care about integrity, about kindness. And when we find the ways that we're the same, you can be friends with anyone. And when you're friends with someone, all of a sudden, like, how many of you have a family member who has the exact opposite political belief as you, and you love them anyway? Whereas anyone that you meet, you're like, oh, they support that person I don't like. But if it's your family member, if it's grandma, it's fine.
Yeah. No, it's straight back into that same, the dichotomy that we create is this categorical thinking, rather than it being a binary, you're on this team, I'm on this team. In reality, if we do want to pool actual stats that matter, look at a bell curve. That is the average distribution of almost every issue you could possibly create. 80% of people are going to be somewhere in the middle, and most likely, as Jen and I just discovered, most likely on the same page, or very similar, way closer than we think. But what we do is we take this extreme far left side or extreme far right, it actually works for this political argument, and we use that as you're either on this team or that team. And look what that wacky 0.01% of people are doing, and then the other side's doing the exact same thing, and it just seems so dangerous and illogical to adopt a mode of thinking like that, this spectrum-based thinking where you are this. Like, no, we're humans. We all have different. We land somewhere different on that spectrum with every single issue, from do you like country music to extremely sensitive political issues. There's always going to be that bell curve distribution, and 90% of the time we're most likely on the same page. So I just hate seeing this this narrative of Team X versus Team Y over and over in so many different forms. It's exhausting, easy. Honestly.
It's funny. I did, like, my studies was in criminology, and a lot of the studies that I learned about in terms of crime and political views and population control were about fear. And guess where the studies were all based? The US. And most of them were post 9/11. So my first year was in, was the year of 11th. And I mean, it happens every year, but it was 2001. Or 2001.
Thank you for clarifying, because I was like,
I'm like, so, and I had enough wine that I forgot the actual year. So anyways, it's fine. But even like if you got like there was the Patriot Act, and there was similar legislation in Canada that was passed, and it was because scared people will agree to a lot. So when we're in opposition with each other, it's like on any topic that you can think of, it's easier to mobilize and to control people in that way. instead of us doing the harder work and saying, what's the motivation? Like Travis said earlier. So I guess like this is just a big old loop back to like, what's in it for the people that are putting this out there, and what's in it for us, like the vast majority. And like I feel like the bell curve is like, and Brittany brought up like the old boys club. I love to rail on Chad. I hate corporate Chad. He drives me insane. But again, a big old loop back to what Travis said, like there's the actual problematic people, and that deserves a shaming. But someone makes a mistake and causes a minor harm, we can't, like, not every offense is imprisonable and cancelable.
14 years
we
ago.
can't do it. Are we going to cancel all men? Or are we going to, like, so the Me Too movement, I can guarantee you 90% of dudes have done something that's not okay. But it was fine at the time. Honestly, like I'm going there. And to go back and villainize the guy who bought you too many drinks, was it right? No. But like at the time, was it acceptable? Yes. Do we know better now? I hope so. But we can't lock up all dudes. We can't lock up all white people. We can't lock up all cisgender people. We can't lock up all Christians. Like, genocide isn't the answer.
Well, Jen, you just dropped like, it's like 7 mics just dropped. Like while you.
I can't even keep up with the.
I can't even, and I'm going back to even.
The wine is doing its job.
Amen. Hey, that was Jesus' first miracle, water to wine. Look it up. But on the real talk, it's like if you think about who benefits from genocide, who benefits from the division, it is the elite. And there's a song, I will continue to plug it, by Lauryn Hill called The Mystery of Iniquity. I mean, she snatched every wig from here to Hawaii. It was just amazing how she just exposed how the elite they kind of play puppet master, and the people on the bottom of the pyramid just fall for it and are okay to be divided among the lines that the media feeds to them. And that's why it's so important to retrain our brain and retrain our mind, and not just have conversations like this, but when we come away from this, it's like, okay, now how can I actually get in that space and get quiet enough so I learn to think for myself? I learn to reason with people who reason differently than I do and know their frame of reference and where they're coming from. Because there's safety and there's power in numbers, but the numbers are all divided because we're allowing other people to think for us. Even if you think about from a career standpoint, you're allowing some CEO to do your thinking for you, to tell you what's good for you. It's like, no, that's not what's good for me. You know what I'm saying? You can fire me in 2 seconds and you're telling me I'm part of the family? You can get rid of me in 2 seconds. Get out of here, dude.
You're speaking Jenny's language right now, man. You're like all up on her soapbox.
I worked in an extremely toxic environment where we were called family and all this stuff like that. And then like half the people, they just got fired. You know, I can't say I was one of the lucky ones. I was just one of the people rebellious enough to kind of, know how to, navigate through that fearlessly. But by and large, that's what you have going on. And so it's the elite. And the thing is, like, you have the people who spewing all this rhetoric. They don't even believe what they're saying. And some of these people, they say, oh, I vote for this person, or I do this. You don't even like that person. You don't even like them.
I think it goes into, did you vote for them because they're red or because they're black? Or did you actually look into that? Or did you just say, I am this, so I do this? Like, you put yourself into a category and make those decisions that you feel like you're making for yourself, but you're really making them as a part of this category that someone else is creating.
To be associated. But I'm talking about even the elite with one another. They don't even like one another. They're just all playing the same game, and they know how to play us because we're falling for it. And if you think about it, even on this platform, you got some quote unquote elite influencers. They know how to be puppet masters. So when people come and they may DM me or call me, say this person's not interacting, I'm like, quit letting them play you. Quit letting them play you. People got folks trained. It's like, look, some of y'all have really good gifts to know how to teach and how to train. Why don't you train instead of being a trainee? Quit that.
Okay, listen, Jamal, like, I cannot even with you right now. Okay, I think this is so huge. I'm just gonna jump right on top of that and just steal the whole conversation for like a brief second. So listen, there has been so many people that have poured into my life over the past, like people that I've hired because, you got to pay people. And then other people who I haven't, like Jenny, she hangs out with me for free. Okay, but people that have taught me and worked with me on what it means to have self-awareness. What does it really look like to make decisions that are aligned? What are you aligned with? When was the last time you like pulled down all these pieces to figure out who you were instead of other people telling you who you are? I mean, that's like an intense journey that caused me to defragment. That was a very nerdy term. Take apart like every piece of my life and then examine it and then decide what pieces am I going to put back together. And this is a skill that people need, like people don't have, and it's a lot of times people don't even know that they don't have this skill or that we should pull things apart. A lot of times we're just building up who we are based on what people are saying, and by the time we get to a certain point, we're like, who even am I? Why am I making these decisions? And we're just allowing others to build this frame around us and then live inside this box. But in reality, you're dying inside the box that other people have built for you. So why aren't you tearing down the box, rebuilding your own box with things that you chose to put there instead? And so all of that to say, like, I have now taken all of it. We're just drop everything.
Multiple mics that are running.
All of it. Just drop it. Okay.
Just throw it.
But now what I can do with the information that has since been given to me, instead of saying, I know everything, I have all these tools now for myself, and I'm just going to use them for myself and build up my life to be a millionaire and take over the world and be an influencer. I'm going to put it on my LinkedIn tagline. Instead, I went back to the coaches who coached me and was like, hey, what can I do to bring what you've taught me to other people? And so I went to Rob and I was like, I have a crazy idea. I want to be a coach and I want to help people do the things that other people showed me how to do. But I think it's crazy and everybody think I'm crazy and I don't know how to fix that. And that's probably stupid. And he was like, you're saying you want to pour into lives of other people and you're saying that's the crazy thing that you're doing. And I think that's the biggest thing is anybody who has learned something valuable, all you have to be is one chapter ahead of the person behind you, not 200 stories, just one chapter ahead, and you can help the person behind you. Why aren't we doing that? Why aren't we reaching back, pulling the people who have these things and bringing them with us instead of trying to stand over top of them? I'm done.
Because
that was nice. I tried to get it out as fast as possible.
Because it's easier when you're the chapter ahead to.
Cheers to that one. And
it's so much easier when you are a chapter ahead to be like, I'm a chapter ahead now. I'm so much better. Mm-hmm. Oh, you made the mistake that I knew better because I read that chapter. You're canceled.
No,
but if you think about it, Jen, of a lot of what Chelsea was just saying, like, you know, for me as a counselor and one who is, you know, males like the term coach. Some people just counsel y'all for real. Most people, even on this platform and on Instagram, have this white picket fence of I'm such a great coach, I'm such a great counselor, I demand such transparency. How about you be transparent with your clients? How about you let them know you're not really that far ahead of them? You're just a couple of paces. And so many people have this white veneer and having nothing to do with the color, just this white picket fence of perfection. It's just like, I love shattering all that. And what you just did, Chelsea, was you shattered all of that. Because that's really the truth of the matter. And I mean, I'm not going to rag on Clubhouse, but there's a lot of folks on Clubhouse who aren't even qualified, aren't even certified, and are taking people's money and are wasting their money.
Yeah.
So let's snatch some wigs and let's really wake some folks up. That true.
If it deserves cancellation, it's them.
Yeah.
Let's just put that on the table.
Yeah.
Let's cancel those people. No, I want to cancel the scammers. That's who I want to cancel.
Yeah. There's so many scammers. But if you think about going to our conversation about wokeness, there's so many scammers at the top, the elite. They're just playing folks. And so when you actually get self-aware and know who you are and become confident in who you are, ain't nobody play you.
And the problem with coaches is that they're like, hey, we're going to help you be self-aware. And I know that I need to help you with that because you're not self-aware enough to know that I don't know what I'm doing.
That's the truth.
Oh my God, it's so true.
It's the truth, man.
I'm just saying.
You can end the episode now. The truth has been.
Oh, we blasted through the hour. Oh my God. We are at an hour 15.
Oh, it's an hour and a half. Didn't you know that, Travis?
Oh, it is? Oh, okay.
Did we not tell Travis that? Okay, Travis,
there was
it's an hour
no
and a half.
calendar.
This is something that we
the
expected
show.
our producer to know.
Yeah. Our guest host should know this.
Yeah, I guess let me check the calendar invite. Oh, wait. There
we don't
wasn't one.
We don't see, we don't, you're like, that's super awkward because They're producing. I thought they'd send us one.
Yeah.
Usama's got to be the nicest guy on the planet.
He really is.
Oh,
he's a king, y'all. He is.
100%.
Thank you, brother.
100%.
Wow. Well, we've clearly tapped into this. So yeah, Salty realized he needed therapy and a few coaches. So we're changing lives here today, folks. Like,
we really
this is what it's
are.
all about. This is what it's all
Just
about.
keep on
But
writing in your notebook.
in a genuine sense, like, we've tapped into the problems and the dilemmas and the conflict here. What the hell do we do to resolve this? Like, how do we make this a better world? How can we focus on our own world? That's just an open-ended question to all y'all, and including our secondary guest in the background. But that might be a good direction to take things. I'd be curious to hear, what do we do about all this? How do we turn this into action items?
We counsel Jacob. No.
Okay, first
And
of all,
salty.
everyone get your notebooks, because there is takeaways, because our new producer told us to have takeaways.
Yeah.
So here,
And we do,
this
he
is the
said, 'cause
value.
He's so much better.
No, I mean, the thing is, like, I'm actually really curious to hear everyone's answers, because, like, I don't think that there's any one solution. I think there's, like, a multitude of solutions.
I mean, that's what it's about. It's work, like everything else. If you were working on your health or working on your house or anything, you have to invest time or energy or money. This case, you can't pay somebody to just figure it out for you. It takes that internal work to look deeper, ask those questions that are difficult to ask about yourself, your life, your being. And I think, I'm gonna stick with I'm gonna sort of secondarily steal what Jamal mentioned, that key one-liner of seeking to understand instead of being understood, I think really gives a massive perspective shift in this, because so many people, they, as he mentioned, they genuinely think they're right. And how can you hold somebody that accountable when they truly think they're trying to help and save and make the world a better place? When in actuality, maybe we need to invert that equation and attempt to understand that other side of that coin, rather than forcing your idea and hoping they even perceive it the same way. Because in most cases, as we even discovered today, saying the same words can even be perceived in different ways, depending on who's saying it and the tone and the context and all of that. So that perspective shift to me was massive takeaway that'll stick in my realm for sure.
And I think, like, just right next to that is what I'm always saying to people that I'm working with in schools and that type of thing is, are you asking quality questions? Like, one, are you asking questions? And two, are you asking quality questions? And I think that goes back to kind of what y'all are saying about seeking to understand, is instead of just seeing something and immediately attacking it, ask questions. If you want, I always say, like, I have a clarifying question. Because if someone says something to me that I could feel offense towards or don't understand, I'd be like, I have a clarifying question about that. And so I think that's a huge part of the quote unquote solution, right? Is instead of immediately jumping on, they've said this and they meant that, is to ask questions about what you're seeing. If you feel like something's off and you really have a problem, ask a question. Like, so much easier. Send a DM. Ask a question, and in a nice way. I have a clarifying question about what you said. I'd like to understand what you're saying, and that's an easy solution.
I want to go. Oh, sorry, Jen. Go ahead.
No, go for it.
Yeah, Travis kind of he went full circle with what I was gonna say, but I want to make it a little practical, even based on what Chelsea said, to maybe bring it full circle. Take time to breathe. A lot of times when someone's talking and they may say something that you disagree with, you can kind of feel it rising up, and then your thoughts begin to rivet, and then it's like the tongue is not far behind, and boom, you've already gone out ahead. And what could have brought something together ends up being a burned bridge. So take time to breathe and kind of curve through what they're saying, and then ask those clarifying questions, and then just listen actively. Because it's easy to even nod your head and be inactively listening. And so actively listen, and then you'll find out, kind of like Travis was saying earlier, you have more in common than you don't than you don't have in common. It's like, yo, we're actually going in the same direction. And even if you're going in different directions, hey, let's go there together patiently. And it's messy, and knowing that it will be messy. And so I really believe that if you take the time practically to actually just breathe while somebody is kind of going there in ways that are setting off those bombs inside of you, don't let it out. Just kind of keep that down. And there's a proverb that says, a fool utters all his heart, but a wise man keeps it till afterwards. It's like, keep that thing until you know you can let it out in a way that's redemptive. And don't let what they say so much influence your thinking, but let it impact your thinking in a way that broadens your perspective. I think that'll be really helpful in kind of dealing a bit of a blow to this council culture. Not that it can, we're all headed, down a pretty broad path, but I think we can do more together than we can apart. And seeking to understand it takes practical steps.
Totally.
I see Luke and Salty are savage in these comments. I'm loving it.
No, and
oh God.
I love that, Jamal, you brought up, especially you just brought up, giving yourself an opportunity to not be triggered, which, we can't talk about wokeness culture without talking about being triggered, which is actually just your amygdala activating, which is a prehistoric function in your brain. It's fight, flight, or freeze. And when that happens, you actually, your logic center shuts down. So giving yourself that 6 seconds to breathe allows you the opportunity to move back into your logic center. And, I think let's just have an echo chamber here. I think curiosity over judgment wins. Because when you're activated, I'm versus trigger, when you're activated emotionally, and you're like, oh, you said something that didn't, when you clarify, I would say most of the time, you've just projected your perspective, self-doubt onto that person. And when they clarify, it's not going to be me and Travis just could have got into it. We could have had a huge fight on the show, and we agreed.
WWE style, get some amplified.
That's
conflict.
for the next episode producing for us.
He probably has music for that. There's probably sound effects he could run. He probably has that all ready to go.
I'm loving the production for that one.
Seriously. I mean, right? Let's make it happen. Now I'm intrigued. Let's do the things.
Love it.
No, and I think
think,
anytime that you can just assume that everyone is wrong. Assume that there is no right, because there so often is not right. So okay, be less wrong, maybe.
Mm-hmm. But there's not a universal answer to all of that. I mean, there's so many factors that play into it. You can't just assume one thing. And I think to add on to that, Jenny, so often, I mean, really to add on to kind of what all of you said, one thing that will help with when you're getting triggered is to understand more about why that's triggering you, and flipping it and looking internal instead of external. So if you're constantly looking to see that external validation, or you did this to me, rather say, why is this happening to me? What is going on within me that is causing this reaction? And so often you're able to do that better when you really understand who you are and what your values are and those types of things. So instead of immediately lashing out at that person and you did this to me, flip it and say, what is it in me that I've experienced that's causing this to impact me the way that it is? Because it didn't impact every single person that way. It impacted you that way. So what is it? What's unique about you in that sense?
Well, and to bring it back to Travis's situation, who was triggered on his post, she reacted. What was behind it? Was she's probably someone who wants a seat at the table. So then it gives you the opportunity to be like, why does this bother me? Oh, this is the reason why. What can I do about it? Can you build a relationship that's positive and productive so that you can ask or be invited to have a seat at the table? Can you start your own show? Put all the ladies up there, put whoever you want on. It's your show. Can I control? Because that problem for her was not we can call it a societal problem. It wasn't a Travis problem this way. That was a her problem.
So to that point, think about Travis.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I was just gonna wrap that one up in a little bit of a bow. She did end up it was initially, it wasn't even targeted at me, and then I got kind of pulled into it, and she had realized that context, and eventually did actually come back around and apologize. So there is a little bit of a remedy and Disney ending to that whole adventure.
And now you're producing her new show.
Yeah. But yeah, go ahead, Jamal. Would love to hear.
No, I was thinking about what Jen said in light of what that situation could have been, but what it turned out to be. And I don't know. I think it was about 3 weeks ago or a month ago. I think it was Luke who posted something about, it was one of those kind of like rant posts with a Homer Simpson meme. That was funny, you know. But said it was like racist. And then I was like, when I found out, I was kind of like, okay, how is this racist? I'm a black man in America. You know, I don't care who you are. But I was just like, how is this racist? And so going back to your point, Jen, it's like, I got to find out, sit with this dude. Like, where'd you pull that from? Like, some folks just pull rabbits out of a hat in this woke culture. So it's just like, I got to figure out what brought you to that frame of reference where you would write that on somebody's post. That just doesn't even make any sense, because like no one wants to be known as a racist. Just like a male in this day and age doesn't want to be known as a pervert. That's a very serious thing to call somebody. Yeah, that's very seriously. So I was like, that's not cool. But that's where we don't know, like, what takes these people where these things trigger them and bring them to that place where they're willing to just go ahead and, when you write something, it's permanent. It's in cyberspace.
The internet is forever.
Hello. And so it's stuff like that where it's a messy road to figure out what are all these frame of references that open up these cans of worms that can get out of hand.
Because I think so often we're looking to, instead of reflecting back on ourselves, we're looking to fix the other people instead of what we have happening. So it's much easier to point out problems in other people and say, you should fix this, because then you can say you should fix this and then walk away. But if you say, I have this problem, I should fix this, then you actually have to fix it. The whole log in somebody else's eye kind of concept. I mean, it's just a lot easier to say, you do this, you're wrong. And I think we can use it as a deflection of what's actually happening internally. We're just going to bring it out on all the other people, which is lazy. So there you go.
All right, guys. Well, man, I feel like I lost calories during this talk.
Oh, man.
Are we canceled now?
You're welcome.
We'll see. Well, I guess we'll find out. We'll see. We'll see what are the worst clips people can micro edit and reframe into
I am scared to start that competition.
Oh man,
I'm brand new to the micro editing world, so I'll be slow to it. Y'all saw my fake me out live the other night. I barely know how to use Restream, so I won't.
It was a good live.
Thank you. It's fun.
Epic.
I think this is the point where we say what could go wrong, right?
Do you want to know the actual answer?
I mean, we've made it this far. I am certain there are some really fantastic snippets of things that we've all said that could be used to just,
I am so grateful. Yeah, well, I guess I won't even.
Knock on wood.
I was like, I'm so grateful people haven't gone and scoured like the MySpace days. Like, if you really want to go to get some dirt, I've said some way worse. Oh, that is okay with me.
Oh boy.
Oh, amazing.
Jenny, do we have who's coming on next week?
So next week there's no show because
That's right. I knew that.
So
I knew that.
Next week there is no snarking. On June 4th, we shall be back with one Mr. Luke Matthews, assuming he shows up this time. Hopefully he will.
Theoretically, he will be here. However, he previously was not. So
who knows? I mean, like, it's honestly, it's a surprise every week. So let's just have a show on the 4th. Who shows up for it? It'll be kind of cool. So
that sounds fun. Let's do that. I like it.
Amazing.
Y'all, this was super, and I think our guest host / super producer should do whatever it is that people do when they close, because we usually just push the end button in the middle of a sentence.
Oh no! Okay,
we're just like, and we're done.
Thank you to Jamal.
Love it.
Our stand-in Snark, who I mastered. Was it 11:30 last night? Like, do you want to drop it?
Yes.
What are you doing?
Ace.
You want to hang out?
Well, like,
Ace.
yeah. It'll be fun. It's a light conversation.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Totally no risk.
There's nothing that could go wrong. Travis, thank you for being our guest host producer. Thank you to our friends
and being
who
so
were
much better
lighting up the chat, canceling us, being triggered, creating safe spaces.
That's what it's all about.
Just being woke.
Yeah, all together.
Appreciate you.
Bunch of wokies now.
You can post your essays. Post your essays.
Thank you.
In Snark Squad.
Post your essays.
We'll grade them. Chelsea's a very difficult grader, so you know.
Woke power rankings of our own. Oh man, no, this was amazing. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you. I'm actually super stoked Jamal snuck in here. That was like low-key, like the best thing that could happen. That was perfect. Thank you, Jenny and Chelsea. Thank you, everybody in the chat. This was lit up today. I guess there's no show next week, so no join sometime in the future. Thank you for joining the super special edition of Snark Squad. It will exist at some point in the future. Be there.